Give me a second, y'all. I'm actually about to start. I'm actually going to talk a little bit more. I got to make this post live so I can see your comments. Give me a second. All right, let me see. Let me see if it'll work now. See if it'll work this time like this. Give me 1 second. All right, man. Back to this Falcon conversation. But hindsight, the Falcons are top. The Falcons are possibly looking at being a top 5 pick this draft because they lost to the Cowboys. The Cowboys have one up on them. They lost to the Chargers. That could potentially put them backwards. I don't know how it's going to be set up at the end of the day, but Reggie said the Falcons is trash. I know that, sir. I don't need you to remind me. Thank you very much, though. Reggie said the Falcons is trash. I know that, Reggie. Thank you for reminding me about my team. I know my team's been garbage since week 1. So thank you for telling me. But at this point, yeah, the Falcons. So for like any of you on here, what are your true thoughts that the Falcons should be pursuing in this draft? Hey, Jordy, how you doing? But in your true opinion, what do you think the Falcons should be pursuing in this draft? Let's see. Richard said this game is so BS. Yes, it is. But the sad part about it is that game didn't surprise me because the Falcons do stuff like that. They do stuff like that. They be in them close games and lose that way. The Chargers just won up the Falcons today. Sad but true. Okay, so boy Stinson said, oh man, blow the fans up at this point. I understand, man. I feel you. It's hard watching these games week in and week out and not getting frustrated. The boy Q said a whole new roster. I agree. The roster need to be blown up in all type of ways. I hope the Falcons really do go ahead and start moving on to the next level. And let's go ahead and blow this thing up. It's no longer about who's given us so many productive years. It's time to go ahead and move this roster on to the next level. Time to move this roster into rebuild. I think the Falcons should have been considering rebuild this off season that just passed, but it was kind of hard to start looking at it like that because the pandemic was going on. We didn't know what this team was going to turn out to be. But after the first 5 weeks, when we lost all those games, it was time to move on then. Bridget said they need to go home. I agree. They need to go home. I don't want to watch another game this season. I really wish we wouldn't have to play these last 3 games of the year. I really wish we wouldn't have to deal with this. We got, like I said, we got the Chiefs in week 16 and got Tampa twice. Not looking forward to it. This team could finish 4-12. Honestly, I thought this was the last winnable game for the Falcons. They lost. So, at Stinson said to keep Hayden Hurst. I'm not against it. I'm not against keeping Hayden Hurst. I don't feel that he truly got an opportunity to shine in this offense because I feel like the offense is so predicated on trying to be a downfield, up tempo passing attack, and we don't have the we don't have the guy to call the right plays and call this thing, make this thing happen. Match regress. It's just been a very very rough season, especially for this offense at this point. So Reggie said, "I want to talk about the Falcons." I'm all right on that, buddy. But this team definitely got a lot of holes to fix. At this point, we have to blow this roster. I just want to blow this roster up. I'm just through with this current roster. I'm through with all 50 men on this roster. I know everybody can't be gone, but at the end of the day, this has just been pitiful play. It's been 3 years in a row of bad play. Year 1, we had injuries. Last year, we were just a bad football team, but we started winning at the end to save Dan Quinn's job. and give him 2020. And of course he turned right around and had a very, very bad 2020 and got fired. So it's hard at this point. It's hard at this point to want to get a chance to move on. I want to move on from this current squad. That's all. That's how I feel at this point. I just want to move on from this team, move on from this current squad, get everything going to the next direction for this Falcon roster. It's not worth it anymore. Because I would hate to run this group back in 2021 and we're having the same conversation that we just had last year, that we just had the previous year before that. I don't want to do this again. I just want to blow this thing up. But at the end of the day, the Falcons got to have a game plan, because I don't know if the new GM and head coach is going to really want. They're going to want their own guys. So knowing that they're going to want their own guys is going to be very, very difficult. Bridget said, let's talk about this Falcon game. Oh, my God. It was terrible. It was absolutely terrible. I thought that they actually could have pulled that game out. And truthfully, they really sat there and messed themselves up in today's game. You had an opportunity. Really, the Falcons left about 10 points on that field. You had that interception where we could have even got a field goal from Koo, and we sat here and had a dumb interception. They had just the defense put you in position to win another game, and that interception, that throw was bad. That throw was easily read. Matt is not don't get the ball out quick enough to make that throw. I'm sorry. So that interception, they were easily reading that interception. Reggie said, tell Nate put me on live with him. Absolutely not, sir. Reggie said Matt Ryan got to go. I think Matt Ryan days are absolutely numbered at this point. I think honestly speaking, the contract is the only reason that Matt Ryan probably isn't going to be gone next year. But who knows? They could say, hey, nobody's safe in this position, that the new GM and head coach may say, hey, I want to try to get him out of here however he can. But that contract's just kind of hard to get out of at this point. But it's going to be hard. I don't know. I do think even if you don't let Matt Ryan go this offseason, we need to be getting a quarterback in place for 2021. And in the position that we're in, the Falcons really could go after Trey Lance. He's the guy that, don't know if a lot of you guys are familiar with him out of I want to say he's out of North Dakota State, or he's out of North Dakota State at this point. I do think you got to go ahead and start looking at getting a young talent in there. Let Matt kind of be a mentor to him. Kind of what you saw with Aaron. Look at the situation with Aaron Rodgers and Jordan Love. They didn't get rid of Aaron. They didn't move on and get Jordan Love because they are done with Aaron Rodgers. But one thing that you saw the Packers do, even with Brett Favre in 2005, they went ahead and got Aaron Rodgers in place. Well, really, Aaron Rodgers fell in their pocket, but that's a conversation for another day. But Aaron Rodgers fell in their hands. They set him for 3 years, and he turned into be an outstanding quarterback in this league. To me, you got to start looking at getting Matt Ryan. Yeah, you got to start looking at getting Matt Ryan replacement in place. It's a business at the end of the day. It has absolutely nothing to do with what this team, what he's done. He is gonna go down as the best quarterback in franchise history. He is, but at the end of the day, that only can do but so much. This is a bad squad, and this franchise will only hurt themselves by continuing down this Matt Ryan road and going through these ups and downs. That's just truly where it's at right now. Bridget says that Matt needs to go home and play with his 10 trippers or whatever. That's definitely gonna probably be a part of his game plan this off season. But yeah, it is truly time for him to go ahead and start taking his steps towards moving on, getting ready to get his team in order for the future. I don't really know what to make of this squad at this point. But we have 3 games remaining, which I have to be honest, I'm not looking forward to watching none of these games going down the stretch. I'm gonna watch as a fan, but overall, if I don't know any one of us is going to be excited to watch these last 3 games because Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes is two of the best in the league, and I don't know. At this point, the Falcons. I will also throw this out here. I know Julio Jones can play today. I don't want to see him this season. I don't want to see him for the rest of 2020. We just said, I am done. I just look at the game for fun. That's kind of how I am too now. I cheer it on if we win the game. If we lose, I criticize it. I'm not even getting angry about it at this point. It's hard to keep your emotion with this team right now. It's very hard because I've seen it happen so much. And it, unfortunately, even going, and I hate to keep going back, but I don't think this team mentally recovered from 2083. I think we never mentally recovered for what happened 3 years ago in that Super Bowl. And this thing has trended down year by year by year, and there's only so much that you can do with this team. The one thing that, if as a fan, it's not even just a Falcons fan at this point. If your team loses the Super Bowl, a lot of times you don't see that team go back and really put it together. I don't think the Falcons did anything after that. They lived off of 2016 so much that 4 years later, we were still trying to give this thing a chance, still trying to give this team the opportunity. And you got to be done with this current era. And I would even go as far as throwing that Rich McKay don't need to be the president of this team anymore either. I think you need to go ahead and totally wipe this slate clean. You got to get a new culture in here. There's nothing against what those guys did beforehand. But at the end of the day, you can only do but so much with this team that is currently constructed. This front office is currently constructed because even with Rich McKay may have his certain type of person that he want to see up in here as a GM or a head coach. Arthur Blank can have their own particular guy. You may have to get to a point where you got to get guys in here that are football minds. Rich McKay can no longer continue to live off of helping build Tampa Bay, because as much as you guys see me talk about Thomas Dimitroff, Rich McKay was by far a worse GM than Thomas Dimitroff. At least TD hit on a couple of picks. That's the God honest truth. But you got to move on from this thing. You got to just go ahead and say, this roster gave us some fun, exciting years. Yeah, we did a lot with this roster. We went deeper than we've ever been. We had back-to-back winning seasons. You know, we done a lot. For a team that for the first 44 years that didn't even have a back-to-back winning season, we done a lot. But those minimal accomplishments can't no longer fly. You got to get to a point where you're saying this thing we have to move on. We have to move on while it's best for us to do it right now. Because, again, I don't want to sit there 2 years from now and say the Falcons should have made this move. The Falcons should have did this. The Falcons should have did that. And then here we are staring at the rest of the division like we should have made a move sooner. Because to be honest with you, as I said, I don't know if whoever got a chance to watch my draft coverage back in April, I never compared us. I had us going 8-8. And even this is worse than I thought. But I say that to say this. The Falcons coming into the season have always, in my eyes, been viewed as the third best team in the division. New Orleans is finishing up their Drew Brees run. Tampa is going for it right now with Tom Brady. That's why you see that stacked up roster. At this point, you weren't going to compete with neither. So it was no need for you to be trying to keep up with those guys in division. At this point, if those teams are set long term to compete, go ahead. You don't want to continue to keep living off of the 2016-17 run or the 2008-2012 run. You just can't do that. It comes a point where it got to end. This is not a good football team. You want to get better. You want to start working your way back towards being a contender. This is not about playing 500 football or being a wild card team. You step up week in, week out, year in, year out to win a championship. And for the last 3 seasons, this team, this roster, this squad has not done enough to even be a playoff team. The 2017 team went into the divisional round, and that's where they went to that. One thing about it also, the Falcons need to figure out what they want to be with the new era. Because under Dan Quinn, and I'm not sure, I know my buddy Q's probably watching it. He's a Seahawks fan. When we brought in Dan Quinn, we were replicating that Seattle run. Seattle broke up probably a year after that. We eliminated Seattle in the postseason towards the end of that Legion of Boom run. But at the end of the day, you didn't see Seattle continue to stick to what the Legion of Boom did 7-8 years ago. They started to build that team to be successful around Russell Wilson. And you're still seeing them start to come together with. That's why they've been able to, while everyone else was like, wow, how Seattle's in the playoffs year in and year out. Because they've done enough to continue to build around what they have. But we're continuing to stick to what worked way back when. That's not how teams are successful. You look at a Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh is not the most talented roster. They're out here. But they did enough. They built that defense. They got guys out here that make plays. See, I don't know if a lot of people remember this. Pittsburgh didn't have a first or a second round pick in this draft. Yet they're right now the second best team in the AFC and got the second best record in the NFL at this point? Because they've been drafting for their future. They didn't just stick with what they saw with AB, what they saw with Ben Roethlisberger. That's not happening here right now. That's the problem. You're not getting guys to come in and be the future of this team. You are sticking the Julio Matt train to the point where when they can't perform no more, you have no choice but to blame them. Matt Ryan isn't the full problem in Atlanta, but you cannot sit here and not exclude him of blame at this point because there have been so many problems with this team. So, and unfortunately, the quarterback goes down with the ship. So it's at a point now where it's like, move this thing on. Time to stop wasting time with this era and keep it moving. If you're trying to stick with this roster, certain guys with this roster, because there are certain guys that's going to be here in the future, like Grady, Deion Jones, certain guys like that. Those guys are going to be here long term. They've earned it to be on the roster long term. But when you look at guys like Matt, Julio, those guys like that, they're veterans. They've given their time here. They can be moved. But again, I just wanted to get back on here, talk a little bit more about the Falcons. I'm glad I got a chance to get a couple more people to chime in. But we will definitely be speaking more about this team. We'll be speaking more about post 2020 because the 2020 season is over. Hold on. I got one more comment. Tiny Jones said time to destroy and rebuild. I totally agree with that. You've actually been talking about it a lot in our Falcon group. This is one of the guys that talk a lot of he talks a lot of good Falcons talk. I actually get a chance to read a lot of his comments. He's one of the main Falcon supporters that definitely talk a lot about the Falcons and the direction they're going in. And I agree with him 100%. This thing needs to be blown up. It needs to be rebuilt at this point. But like I was just saying before I had saw the comment, I will be talking more about this as we get closer to the end of this season and get ready to find out what we're going to do with the future of this roster. Y'all have a good one, and let's enjoy this Pittsburgh and Buffalo game. I'm looking forward to it.